our final topic today, we're going to talk a little bit about the PDSP, so the Pentagon City Development Site Plan. Let's talk a little bit about the background of this and then get into some of the changes.
Yeah, and I'm going to pass this to our former planning commissioner.
We'll lob that ball over to you, Eric.
So PDSP, it's the alphabet soup, right?
Yeah,
that is planning.
That is an
right?
issue. Mm-hmm.
Phased development site plan. So this is the main plan for the Pentagon City area. Mm-hmm. It includes the mall. It includes where Amazon will be going, and it basically includes, if folks can picture Pentagon City and a ring around what I call the Costco
the
block.
Costco area.
Right.
Yeah, you got kind of like River House in there.
So Costco, though, is the hole in the donut, because it's not, that site, for some reason unknown to me, is not part of the PDSP.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a strange artifact, I think, of the times past.
Yeah.
And so to bring us up to date, so this is the plan that has guided development around that with Pentagon Row was part of it. The mall itself, like I said, and a lot of folks have seen some of the newer development. There's the building that is going up right on top of the metro station. So what we need to do, though, is we talked at the top of the show about Amazon's arrival, right, and what that has done, how that has really opened up lots of new possibilities for Arlington. And so there's a huge interest by developers, in particular when we talk about what are we doing with housing, to develop more housing around
the site,
around the HQ2 site.
And if you do that, you need transit, right?
If you do that, and you need transit, exactly. And so a big part of this update is looking at the transportation, because we are known as a community that is transit-oriented development. As I said earlier, we want to welcome people, but not more people, but not their cars. Well, in order to do that, you got to have the transit to support the development.
Exactly.
So what is special about what we're doing this month, what we did is we agreed to accept $450,000 in contributions from the property owners. And they're so anxious to get going on their site plan development applications. And we kept telling them, well, hold on, we got to study this, we got to update the plan. And they said, but we need to move now.
Now, right.
We need to strike while the iron is hot. We got to get this going for you. So we came up with this innovative approach that says, well, if you're willing to contribute, if you're so anxious to get going, if you're willing to contribute some funds, we'll combine that with about $1 million in existing county funding for this process.
And some of that actually is in-kind funding and basically with staff help and that kind of
right,
thing.
Exactly.
Resources that we've got. Yeah.
But then we can go ahead and move forward with the study. So that's a little different about this. It's the first time we've ever accepted county or developer contributions into a county process.
Okay. Yeah.
But it is a county process, so the community can expect all of the same things that we always do in a planning process in terms of full engagement and lots of opportunities for civic associations and neighborhood groups to participate in the process. So the developers basically have agreed to pay to fund the process, but it doesn't buy them any special access or special influence over how the process is run and ultimately what the final plan will be. The final plan will come to the board like it always does. It'll be our vote that will determine what the plan is that we adopt. But mostly we want to make sure, the main goal around it all is to make sure that we have the transportation infrastructure in place so that as we start to see these plans and as that area gets built out into the future, we don't have huge traffic problems. And a lot of folks don't necessarily understand that the metro stations that are there are actually below capacity right now. Because the peak of ridership was before basic realignment and closure, the BRAC process that saw a lot of contractors leave the Pentagon City area. And so ridership actually declined for a while, and we still haven't, we've got a ways to go before we would be even back to what that peak was. So this study is just going to sort of validate all of that and make sure that people understand what the existing capacity is, and also to pinpoint where we might need to make some investments in some infrastructure. There's a major bus connection right there at Pentagon City, and making sure, so if we need to upgrade that to make sure that buses can move through there and so that we're able to connect our bus system with the rail, we want to be able to do that because that helps to make everything else work.
Yeah, and we are focusing on transportation. We're looking at some other things too. Just to finish on the transportation, I'm hoping we're going to come up with it. It's an idea that was, back when we were looking at the streetcar, like this connection with Columbia Pike makes so much sense. So can we get like a Crystal Pike bus and maybe a circulator thing that just goes back and forth?
There's an
I
idea.
think there are a lot of things to look at. I even talked to people about autonomous electric vehicles, which we have some of those do a circulator. So I'm hoping some of that may come out in this as well. And people worry about more than transit. They worry about schools. Do we have enough schools? Can we get the water here? Do we have all of these things? So it will be looking at that as well. And it really is building on, this is very Arlington way, it is building on the work of the 3 civic associations there. They did this livability framework. And that was looking at a lot before, parks, and all kinds of, is it comfortable and to live here? Do we have all of the kind of resources that we need? And it's really kind of cool. They did a lot of work on that, and have really, I actually highly recommend people looking at the livability framework, work that they've done. And then you've got the developers saying, come on, we got to go, and we sort of put it all together, and it was innovative, and we'll move forward a little bit faster because we do need to move forward pretty quickly in this area because we got a lot of change coming, so we want to be able to manage it in a good way. So we'll see. Yeah, I expect it will validate some of the things we're doing and probably point up some things that we need to put a little more attention into. So it's an exciting process.
How long is this study going to take place?
That is a good question. Do we know exactly yet? I think it's about a year is my guess.
A year is a great guess.
Yeah,
it might be in our notes here somewhere, but I would
I
anticipate
think actually
a
it's
year.
not decided yet. Yeah, I think they got to figure it out yet.
A longer term process.
Yeah,
it's not something that's going to be
in
decided
2
next
weeks.
month. Yeah.
Right.
No.
But that'll be very interesting to see what that study
it's
brings
cool.
forth. All right.
But folks who are interested, not only should they check out the livability framework, but get in touch with your civic association because that's the primary mechanism.
And they're on the ground really working.
Exactly.
At that level.
And that individual folks who might be watching this or listening who want to get involved, get in touch with your civic association.
Well, and I will just finish up. The civic associations are so impressive with what they've done, not only the livability framework. So I went to, with Christian Dorsey and I, because we kind of share the Crystal City bid, we kind of go back and forth on who's doing the liaison work. So we were there. The meeting was called by the civic associations. This was all kind of a volunteer effort. Room was packed. I think there were about 300 people there. And they had representatives from Amazon and from JBG. And then they had Mike Dowell from the Civic Association made the presentation of the livability framework. And it was just as professional as the ones done by JBG and Amazon. I was just really blown away by the quality of work our citizens are doing there. And everybody's together. It's got a nice team feel. And this is what we need to be doing, all pulling together in the same direction. This, again, will be another way to keep us focused so that we all kind of know exactly what our goal is and how we need to get there. And it's really exciting.